Hi guys, we just shot a video on planning out where to stamp on your blank. Where do you know where to stamp it?
It's tricky, it's tricky. We're going to show you how to trace the blank and do some fun little things so that you don't have to figure it out while maybe wasting it on your blank. So just remember, this was a Facebook Live show that we've shot and edited here for you. Before you watch it, you might want to hit that subscribe button so you can get notified anytime we put up a new video. Cool? Cool?
Let's check it out.
Let's check it out. We're going to talk about planning your design and a couple of tricks to help you plan it in a way that doesn't end up with your metal circle in the garbage. So let's start with this here. This is aluminum foil tape. You can find it at any hardware store. I considered carrying it and selling it, but it's kind of bulky and it's expensive, and you can find it down the street, I promise, or online.
Do you get it by like a roll? Oh, you do get it by a roll.
Yeah, so it's a big old roll. This one is really wide because I like to do a lot on this. You know, I could plan out a whole thing like that or this direction,
wow.
You know. So it's like for duct work or whatever. So this is just nice to press your stamps into to get an idea of the fit and the flow and how everything might work. That's my favorite way to plan. I got this tip from Kate Richburg, and Kate said she got this tip from someone else, so it's just being passed on and passed on. So let me zoom in here. This was a design that I was thinking about. I wanted to put on a circle the word strength and a butterfly and a peacock feather. I don't know if the glare is hard to see. Can you see that okay, Mel?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So this was the first one I did, and you can see my word strength ran out. So I got to the S-T-R-E-N-G.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm pretty psyched that I planned it out first by tracing the circle on there and tapping into this, which I'll show you in a minute. This one, I realized two things. Obviously, I need more space for the word, but on this one, I had put the design stamps first and then the word, which was stupid. Put the word first because that's where you're going to, possibly run out of room. It's harder to plan out for that when it's especially on a curve. Then put the designs in. So just play with it. Same thing here. So this was a blank. I don't know my plan with it. Maybe a ring, maybe a pendant.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wanted the stem and the echinacea and the K on it, and everything's too far over. So, I mean, if I did actually stamp that, I'd probably cut it and file it.
Mm-hmm.
But now you know that, like, okay, you need to push everything over or add something over here. Maybe the K moves over. So it's just a really, really easy way to visualize what you're trying to get at, right? So you can do the same on cardstock.
Oh,
so
that's
this is just thick cardstock. And I've just tapped into this. You can do the same on, like, this is a piece of cardboard from a cereal box.
Oh, okay.
So you want enough thickness that the stamp is going to, like, push into it, so it shows up so you can see it. So let me show you how I do that. You'll notice that I'm working on a piece of wood. It's just a cutting board. I don't like to put this on my bench block when I test it, because then when I go, if I'm just pressing this in with my hand, that's not a big deal, but I like to tap it with a hammer to make sure the whole impression shows up.
Oh, okay.
And if this is your bench block underneath here, you're basically hitting your stamp against your bench block. I would consider this thickness air. It's nothing. It's not protecting your stamp from hitting the bench block like a blank would. And the point there is that if you are stamping this design, which is nice and work hardened, but only to some point, against a bench block that's harder than it, you might start dulling this.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. I'm just looking on here.
There you go.
Okay. Great.
So I like to have enough resistance under here that's going to impress, but not so much I'm going to injure my stamp. So I like to also, for that reason, just use a plastic mallet. And then I can really see it well there.
Now, if you didn't have a plastic mallet, you could use just your 1 pound on the wood.
Sure, yeah, just you're not like whack, like stamping, just tap it. And
sure.
I do sometimes use that. Let's say I wanted to make this into a diamond and I was like practicing that. Let's see. Like pretty good, but it overlapped. Like this is a good way to practice things like that. You see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
It turned, but I'm kind of hooked in.
Oh, that's okay.
So, yeah.
Tech support here. Okay. So same with this guy. If I just wanted to see what it looks like on Now this is white, so it's kind of hard to see.
Oh, you can see it though, pretty well.
I've heard some people, yeah, if you hit it well, you get it. I've heard some people like will dip it in ink, like a rubber stamp, and press it on here. I was going to show that, but I'll be honest, I have no idea if that ink is at all harmful to your metal stamps.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't see why it would be.
I don't think so, yeah.
But just to be safe, I was like, I don't want to be putting anything on my impression. I mean, ink can't really eat through metal, but I just want to put that out there.
Technically, you could just draw your pencil mark it over it, right, to see your impression. Okay.
I was thinking putting it on the stamp.
Oh, right,
and then
right.
pressing it. Oh, yeah, with the pencil on here?
Yeah, I mean, even on your
card
cardstock if you wanted to.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, so... Oh, okay. So let's talk about tracing. So if I'm working on a circle like this, I want to trace it, but what I want to mention is make sure you're tracing it with something very, very sharp. Because if you're working with something thick, you might think that you have more space than you actually do. Because the thickness of the pen you might think is part of your...
stamping area.
Yeah, totally, and it's not. So nice and thin, and then whether you use something thin or thick, just know that the inside of that line is what you have to work with. That line is not part of what you have to work with. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So let's say, give me a word to put on here, Mel.
How about awesome?
Oh my gosh, a long one.
Is it too long? Okay, how about magic? You could do magic.
Okay, magic. How do you spell magic? Okay, I already have like a line on here. I don't know why, so I'm just going to use that. So what I would do with magic is I would write out the word and then find the middle one and go left to right. But let's say I just thought that I knew what I was doing. I could tap it in here and see how I'm doing. This also helps with spacing your letters. So when you have a line or tape under your letters, unless you're like me apparently.
Well, now you could just go down, up, down, up, down.
There
up.
You go, on
You did it
purpose. On purpose.
Yes.
This is the next letter, right?
Yes, it is.
I'm famous for my spelling. But if you had tape, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, you could line up the letters better, but the harder part from there is left to right. So you can see if someone is stamping like a drunk person, like I am, not drunk, but I'm stamping like a drunk person, it would be all over the place. But I can see here that I started too far to the left. Right. If I wanted that word centered.
I mean, left.
The good one.
You know what I do though, you guys? When I do that, I go, oh, this is a perfect place to put a star on the end.
Totally. I do that all the time too. So here I would be like, meant to, because this flower stamp is magic.
It's magic.
Bam.
Yes.
Boom. What? No one needs to know. But if you are more concerned about like getting it perfect, right? So I'm going to cut a new piece. I'll just cut this with scissors.
And there would never be any reason for you to actually stick that to anything, right? Because, I mean, it is tape, right? The aluminum foil.
It is, but it's really sticky.
So do not stick that to your cutting board or your bench block.
Yeah, I would more put tape underneath it to stick it because it might leave yucky stuff. Now, I have stamped on this tape before on purpose with a plan to keep it as a sticker. So if you cut out this circle, if you cut out this circle, you stamp something awesome on it that you love, you can put black on it and you can buff it off. It's metal.
Yeah.
If you want to grab that Pro Polish pad and that Sharpie over there, I can show that.
Yeah, I guess you could like stick it on a book or something.
Yeah. Or I actually did one where I framed it.
That's cute.
It was a mandala. So let's say you wanted to stamp really straight and use tape, which I try to do. On this one, I had actually put the tape over here on my board and stamped the letters I want. And now I can just lay it right there.
Oh.
Centered.
Now that's smart.
Yeah, Mel had mentioned that she sometimes comes in and like puts an X where she wants the letters, or will actually write the letter. But you have to make sure that you're writing it in the same size as the font.
Right, I do that though. I do think, and then I just stamp right over the letter. And
yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So on this one, just random side note to remember that when you put the tape down, you're going to be taking the stamp, here's my M, laying it gently on the metal and bringing it down till you feel the edge of the letter, hit the stamp, or hit the tape, and then stamp.
So you feel the edge of the letter hit the tape?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I said stamp, huh?
Well, I didn't. I just wasn't quite sure. Heather
So-
says she draws little lines where the letters will be rather than X's. That's a good idea too.
Yeah, that
With
is
little
good.
dot
And we were
marks.
talking this through beforehand. If you're working in all capitals, then you're probably okay. But if you're working in lowercase, that may not work because a lowercase l or a lowercase I is so much thinner than a lowercase w. So those dots should not be evenly placed. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of space.
That makes sense.
So one thing to point out here, I just showed you how I put the letters on there, but when you are using tape, don't put the top of the tape dead center of a circle because the letters are going to be just above it. So the top of the tape should be just lower, like should be at where you want the bottom of your letters to lay.
Where you want the bottom of your letters. That makes sense.
Okay, good. Thanks. I wasn't sure. So then here, you can see how by doing it this way with the tape, I'm much less of a drunk person stamping. So the tape helps stamp in a straight line, but it doesn't help left to right. So that takes a little practice. What I do, hopefully my metal is very shiny, I actually look for the reflection. And some of our stamps are very tapered where you can see really, really well.
Oh yeah, the tapered, you guys. There's no guesswork whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't even really have to plan anything out anymore because I can actually see exactly where it's going.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I feel like if you have longer names in your family, invest in the tapered because you're never going to be able to fit like a Madeline or a Mary Ann on a smaller circle.
The money you'll save,
Yes.
right?
If you guys are wondering what she stamped, McCabe is my last name. Because people might be like, why'd she stamp McCabe? You know?
So, I mean, this is just like anything else, right? It's metal.
I do like that you could put a little marker on there.
I've done a whole huge circle of these and framed it.
And it doesn't push it out when you're putting the Pro Polish pad on there. It doesn't like push the impression out.
No, not really. I mean, I have a little more polishing to do than that. I wouldn't leave it shadowed like that. But
that's pretty cool.
yeah, I mean, this shouldn't be a piece of jewelry. Well, it could be. Why not? But it's great to practice on. So the same would go for paper. Let's see what it feels like on a thicker piece. This is cardboard here.
Oh yeah, and I kind of like the idea of doing it on shapes that are a little more odd.
Yeah, because
you
it's
don't know what you
really
fit in there.
tough.
Like with that one, the way you'd done the moon, I loved how the moon went slightly off the tree. But if it went too far off the tree, you wouldn't be able to tell it was a moon, right?
Well, you think that I planned that.
No, you didn't. Don't tell us that.
I didn't. I was like, oh crap, my moon just went off the edge of the tree. Yeah, you can see it was kind of hard to hold down. I would actually,
Tape
if it's,
it.
I put a little tape on this, press it down, and so that it doesn't shift, and you just lost, your plan. So let's see here.
That's why you have kids. You just say, hold this.
Yes, little fingers come here. So I'm going to use the new 3 trees that we have right now on pre-order. Let's see.
Ooh, that's definitely hard to see with the camera. Mm-hmm. Just so you know.
Yeah, I don't like it on this. I bet it would show up better on this side.
Oh yeah, it does.
I mean, with your guys' eyesight and it being right in front of you, you'll be able to see it better. Mm-hmm. But that's why it shows up so much better on this one. Mm-hmm. Let's show here.
Oh yeah,
It's actually
great.
pushing into something and thus causing a little shadow and so forth.
Now, I don't know if this is a weird question, but would you ever do aluminum foil, or is that too thin? Like just your regular like Reynolds?
You could. I just find that tears really easily.
Okay. And
So because this has a backing on it, it's a little sturdier. But if it didn't, this would be holes right there.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean.
You know what I'm saying? And people in the group have mentioned that they cut up a tin can. I really don't like that idea because the tin can, the metal is hard enough that you are going to need your bench block underneath. Mm-hmm. But the tin can is so thin that if you're really hitting hard with your stamp, again, you're basically hitting against your bench block.
So you're dulling your stamp.
Yeah, you could be injuring your stamp.
Yeah.
So if you want to use a tin can, try it on wood or something.
Sure.
If it's that thin, that's why I don't ever stamp on 30 gauge metal. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can, but you might be injuring your stamp because you're whacking it against really the thing that's underneath it. You probably go right through it and cut through it like like a scissor. I don't
Well,
know.
the other thing I wonder about the tin can, but maybe you guys will say differently, is when you cut it, which I suppose you do with your scissor shears or your Zeron, you could really cut yourself. Like, I mean, like, as you're trying to flatten it out, like, it seems like you could get some really sharp edges, so.
Yeah, I agree. It's dangerous. See how this guy's moving around because I'm not holding it well. Meow. So something like this is quite, like you said, it's quite an odd shape. So it's great to
test it out.
Yeah. So if you, I mean, I tried to do lines on here to like define the hat, but I put it really high and then it made it look like he had ears. And then and I was like, I'm just leaving that. But
I guess wearing like a little do-rag underneath his hat.
I guess like technically, that's hilarious. That's the hat, but then the face becomes really small. Mm-hmm. I don't know. So again, that's why you can mess around with it here. So on this guy, maybe I wanted to put a word right here, like on the other one, and then I just wanted winter trees and stuff down here. I can kind of figure out who will fit. Not only who will fit, but if it looks good.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Maybe I put this little guy here, and I'm like, that looks horrible.
Actually, it looks good though.
Yeah, it does. This is a fan favorite tree. Like this one, I might go lower on purpose. It'll flow off the bottom of the blank, but then it just shows less of the tree. Like it's, I don't know, it just makes it more interesting because those two trees are the same height. And I was like, that's boring. These guys are going to want to be represented in here. So you can see now if I trimmed that, only those would show up, which I kind of, I mean, that was on purpose because otherwise they'd be sticking way higher. But you could do, if you wanted to do like perspective, I don't have it here, but you could do our mountain stamp back there, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And even like a liner. And that's the other thing too, you can just draw it out
Which
here.
I think is helpful, yes.
Totally.